welcome to the Webcast for Tuesday, October 1st. I'm South Ops meteorologist Jonathan O'Brien. We've changed the calendar, but not the weather. Visible satellite this morning is very similar to yesterday. The marine layer remains very shallow, no more than 1,000 feet deep. There are also once again a few monsoonal high clouds in the deserts. It's going to be another sunny and very hot day today, though once again some of the immediate south coast beaches may hang on to foggy conditions for much of the day. We again have some weak offshore flow over the Southern California mountains this morning, with localized north to east winds gusting 15 to 20 miles per hour. And once again, while these light winds won't necessarily be a fire weather concern today, their offshore components are a sign that we are continuing to draw warm air into the region. Much of the region is now covered by heat advisories in orange and excessive heat warnings in magenta as we gear up for the two hottest days of this significant late-season heat event. Here's a look at today's forecast highs, some very impressive numbers for this time of year, at least a few degrees warmer than yesterday and in most cases 15 to 20 degrees above normal for this time of year. While we're at it, here's tomorrow's numbers as well, which will be even a little hotter in most cases. Some of the numbers here, especially for a lot of our inland areas that typically start to cool off more substantially this time of year, are near all-time record high temperatures for October. In other words, for some locations, tomorrow's highs will not only be the hottest observed on October 2nd, but on any date in October. The heat wave continues to be driven by a strong ridge of high pressure building in from the Pacific. That ridge will remain overhead through Wednesday, then weaken just slightly and shift over the desert southwest by the end of this week, where it will remain likely well into next week. As a result, while temperatures in most cases will cool several degrees heading into the end of this week, it's still going to remain considerably hotter than normal for October standards for many days to come. We continue to deal with dry conditions as well. Not exceptional dryness thanks to just a little bit of subtropical moisture over the region, but dry nonetheless. Minimum humidity will be mainly in the upper single digits to around 20% above and inland from the shallow marine layer influence all the way through early next week, but will tend to be driest the next couple of days before some modest improvement, especially inland, by this weekend. There will also be poor recoveries in the deserts and many mid and upper slope areas, especially through Wednesday night, before again some modest improvement to end the week. This map is for tonight, and anywhere you see shaded is where overnight RH is expected to remain 30% or lower, and you can see it's a pretty expansive area. Winds will remain light overall this week. A lot of folks are rightfully concerned about Santa Ana wind potential given the heat and dryness, but right now the weather pattern is just not there for a true Santa Ana event. There will continue to be some weak offshore components at times in the mountains like we've been seeing the past couple of days, but overall maximum wind gusts will mainly be 25 miles per hour or less through this weekend. The offshore flow may increase a little bit towards Sunday or Monday, which could bring some renewed warming towards the coast. And finally, there remains just a slight chance of an isolated shower or thunderstorm over the Southern California mountains and deserts any day from Wednesday through the weekend. You saw some of those high clouds in the deserts in the visible satellite, an indicator that we do have a little bit of monsoonal moisture trying to push in. But it's very late in the year for the monsoon, and even if we do pop an isolated storm here or there, by and large this remains a dry forecast for the next 7 days. Tying this all into our fuel conditions, it really is remarkable the turnaround that we're seeing. Take a look at the 100-hour dead fuel moisture for the Western Mountains PSA, which is pretty well representative of most of our PSAs right now. You can see that huge spike just 10 days or so ago, but look at where we are now and where we're heading on the green forecast trace. By the end of this week, our dead fuels, at least anything 100 hours and less, will likely be just as dry as they were during the early September wildfire outbreak. And that is just so hard to do this time of year. It's not that we don't get fire activity in the fall months, but by then it's almost always driven by wind conditions, not just the sort of extreme heat and fuel moisture conditions that we'll be seeing this week. Live fuel moistures also remain at or near critical levels in many species, especially at and below 5,000 feet, and those will be falling in the coming days as well. And so these near-record hot conditions and the continued dry weather will increase the threat for new large fires this week. We've bumped up our area-wide new large fire probability to the top end of the moderate risk category for today, and it goes into elevated territory for Wednesday and Thursday as we continue to dry out. Those are very high numbers for this time of year since, again, it is unusual from October onwards for the region to experience significant fire activity in the absence of strong offshore winds. But the conditions this week could well support it. Weather and fuel conditions will also support continued active burning on the line fire in San Bernardino County, which remains active. There remains little end in sight to the above-normal temperatures, and while there are still no strong offshore wind events in sight either, we'll have to remain very vigilant in the event that those winds arrive before we get our next wetting rains. That's it for today's webcast. Thanks for joining us. The next one will be on Wednesday, October 2nd.